Hun, you got some trees there?
I have some trees and some tubes.
How many trees are you going to plant in the woods, Jared?
100 trees.
Okay. How many have you planted?
Not 100. Fewer than 100? Maybe 7?
Okay. Have fun.
What we're working on today is these woods. So we were able to get hold of a bunch of oak seedlings for basically for free. They were part of a plant giveaway, a township plant giveaway. Trees, stakes, and tubes. The stakes are the most expensive part of that usually. The tubes are a close second. The trees are usually the cheapest thing. If we don't stake and tube the trees out here, the deer will eat them. So we have to stake and tube the trees. So I've lugged up all the supplies that I need for this in the Gator. I've got tubes, I've got a bucket with water, I've got my first pallet of trees. What makes this a little tricky is our soil here is just completely filled with rocks. So it's a bit of a crapshoot as to whether or not you're going to hit a rock when you dig. Luckily, we're not digging a big hole, but yeah, right off the bat, I'm into rocks. So luckily, I only have to dig 50 of these holes today. Okay, so we're about flush with the tree, the soil in the tree pot. So we're going to go ahead and unpot the tree and drop her in the hole. I'm going to take this tag off. Believe it or not, these tags should snap when the tree grows into them, but they don't always. So it's safer to take it off. And we have a little beetle friend who's joined the party. And this is why we are worried about the trees, is because we want to encourage the wildlife in the woods here. This could be some horrible invasive bug. I don't know, I didn't check first, but that's the idea. So let's get this backfilled and get the tube on it. Try to throw my stake in right here. There we go. And you'll hear if it hits a rock or something, it'll really change the tone. And there it is. It has hit something solid. I'm not going to get it any farther than that. And that's probably good enough. You can see there's kind of like a funnel end on these tubes and then a flat end. The flat end goes on the bottom, the funnel end goes on the top. I don't think it makes that big of a difference in terms of water getting in, but that's why they have that funnel end on them, just to try to help catch water. This is a tube that's been reused a couple times, so it has gigantic holes on the sides of it for the cable ties, so it's easier to thread through. So the last thing I'm going to do is hit it with some water. I'm kind of timing this planting around some rain that we're supposed to get this week. So obviously trudging through the woods and trying to water 50 saplings is not a super efficient process. So you want to try to time it as best as you can around, nature. In the fall, usually here in the Philadelphia area, we'll get a wet week in the fall. We haven't had one yet. So rather than having to keep watering these plants and then worry about it getting to the point where, we're into a potential freeze situation where you're not going to be able to dig, I wanted to get them in the ground. So I found a spot where I was about to plant a tree, an oak, and I'm brushing the leaves away, and only to find that there's an oak seedling already in the ground right there, and another one right there. So this stump right here was a big old red oak. Red oaks are not doing great in this part of the country right now. It's not clear exactly why from the arborists I've spoken to. So they suggest planting other species. So the ones that we're planting are pin oaks. White oaks are supposedly doing well. Also, for the wetter areas, swamp white oak. But since these are already growing, I'm going to go ahead and stake and tube them just since they've already gotten started. One thing I wanted to show you is these tubes have perforations in them. See running along that seam there? And so people might think, oh, you put these tubes on the trees, at some point you've got to cut them off. Well, the way that these work is they're supposed to photodegrade, so the sunlight's UV is supposed to, kind of break the plastic down, but then also, because those perforations are there, if the tree actually does grow into the tube, it should just pop it right open. And we do have some red buds on the property that's happened on, so at least in some anecdotal instances, it works. We will probably, once these trees get clear of the top of the tubes, we'll take them off and reuse the tubes.
What you got there, Jared?
Baby trees.
Where'd you get the baby trees?
They're just in the yard.
You dug them up?
Yeah, I dug them up. I didn't just grab them by the base and pull them out of the ground gently.
You're lying. You ripped them out.
I dug them out using...
I heard them screaming from the house.
No, they came right out. I didn't even have to pull hard.
Dogwood, American sycamore, anything else?
Dogwood and American sycamore.
Okay.
You will continue to find dogwood and American sycamore. So there were 5 huge beech trees right where we're standing now. In fact, you can see the remains of one right there. And there was a storm years ago, probably 7-8 years ago, and it snapped them all off, like 15-20 feet off the ground. Because there's no canopy here anymore, and it's in full sun most of the summer, all of this brown, mostly brown foliage here is Japanese stilt grass. It's an annual grass. It was actually imported as like shipping material from Japan, as the name would imply. It puts out a tremendous amount of seeds. So this is just a little piece of a seed head. And you can't even see, like each one of those things that looks like a seed is actually a bundle of more seeds. So yes, the plant is just an annual, but each plant, supposedly, I think the number is like 5,000 seeds per plant it will drop. When there's shade here, when you have full canopy in the forest, the stilt grass is not really built to operate in that environment. It wants sunshine. So you can kind of see the areas where that dying off this year's batch of stiltcress are. That's all places where there's no trees, where there's no shade cover. And so you could come out and kill all the stiltgrass with whatever method you wanted to try. The problem is it will probably come back because there's other stiltgrass, other places. The seeds will get here from the wind, from birds, from animals. It sticks to the fur of critters that walk around. So you have to make the environment inhospitable for it and try to kill it at the same time. Digging out here is fun because it's all rocks. Not kind of some rocks, just everything you hit is rocks. Full of stones. More stones. More stones. That's why our house is made out of stone. And there's stone walls around here because there are stones everywhere. And if they tried to plant anything in the ground, they hit stones. So they dug them out and did something with them. Our success rate for transplanting these little trees, even planting, seedlings, we've been really lucky. I would say like north of 80% on average. If you had an area that wasn't so wet, you're going to probably be more like 50% if you're not watering them.